Welcome to One Up Fantasy, helping you one up the fantasy football competition. For the latest in Chicago sports news, visit ChiCitySports.com. And now, here are the hosts of One Up Fantasy, Stephen Johnson and Chris Jackle. Kaboom!
Welcome on in. Happy Tuesday, one and all, to One Up Fantasy. What up, One Up crew? I'm Stephen Johnson. He is Chris Jackle. And Chris, I know you're amped. It is the bottom of the fourth inning. The Red Sox are leading the Yankees 3-0. If we see any sudden outbursts, I think it's fair to say we know exactly what happened.
I'm in two different spots right now, man. I'm a little nervous. The bullpen sucks out in Boston, so we need as many runs as possible. But nonetheless, this is a fantasy football show. I appreciate the welcome, Mr. Johnson. Good to see you. I hope all is well over there.
Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week. Well, okay. I think that's as pretty.
And it's only much, fucking Tuesday, so here we go.
That's how it always goes. Get the rough days out of the way early on, and then you settle into some football and enjoy the week. And I'm just gonna try and not let Matt Nagy ruin my week and telling me that Andy Dalton could be back as a starter for the Bears after getting me all excited about a victory and not calling plays and just Justin Fields time. Justin Fields forever.
I love it.
It's we'll see what happens, but it's one of those things.
It's just like when Nagy's lips are moving, he's lying. So like, it's just no matter fucking what, you don't trust him. He's peeing on our head and telling us it's fucking raining outside right now. This guy is an asshole. Hopefully we can get, to Sunday without dealing any more of his bullshit, which is probably not going to happen. So we'll see who's under center on Sunday. And I'm hoping it's JF1. QB1, our guy. And hey, but with that being said, speaking of nonsense, craziness, being Tuesday, we had a good Monday night game last night. I snuck away with a victory in our TTNL league over John Necrone. He had Eckler and QB going, and I had Jared Cook, and I ended up with the W. Surprise, surprise. I woke up to a win, and he wasn't too pleased. I told him I'd buy him 2 beers out in Chicago. Out in Pittsburgh when we go to the Bears game. But
it's only
injuries
a month away,
aplenty, man, huh?
That's only a month away.
I'm going to fucking Chicago next week for the Bears Packers game.
That's right. Come on, Phil. But I kid.
And speaking of going next week, I'm not going to get to see my, arguably my now second favorite player, David Montgomery. That
is true.
We should probably, it's a good segue to talk about the injuries.
Yes.
No bueno.
No bueno is correct. The running back situation in 2021 across fantasy has been a whirlwind. I think that's the best way to possibly put it. And week 4, the injuries continue to pile up. Thankfully, it's only 4 to 5 weeks for David Montgomery, because Gus Johnson during the broadcast on Sunday says, we're not going to show you the replay of the David Montgomery injury. It's too gruesome. My mind, I don't know about your mind, immediately went to, okay, something's torn. He's done. This isn't good. What are we supposed to do? But again, thankfully, it's just a knee sprain. He'll be back in 4 to 5 weeks. So maybe
you never know. Hey,
that Steelers game, that could be the target there. However, flip side of that, you also have Joe Mixon dealing with an injury as well after initially being ruled as week to week. Out comes Zach Taylor, head coach of the Bengals. He says, it's more day-to-day. He could suit up against the Packers. And then today, we find out
not good.
that Chris Carson didn't practice, and they have a Thursday game against the Rams because of a neck injury. Yesterday, it's labeled as a veteran rest day. Today, neck injury. Yeah. That's a little suspect, but here we are on top of Dalvin Cook re-aggravating his ankle injury on Sunday. We're not really sure how healthy he is. CMC, will he be back this week? Will he not be back? The dominoes continue to fall, and I tell you what, it's
slim pickings, man. It depends on your leagues too, and how many IR spots you have, and what your, the qualifications are to land there. Because if you're losing guys and they're just getting stashed, I mean, you're looking at picking up Sammy P or, shit. I got a list here. We're gonna probably get to later on, but there's not many guys out there available outside of maybe Damien Williams. They're probably the number one waiver wire claim this week, but there's not many dudes out there. You got to be pretty crafty or planned ahead and had your handcuff, or, I almost dropped Madison last week and something or during the week, and I just hold on to him, and sure and shit. Now I'm, kind of happy I did that. But is there anybody out there that you're kind of targeting, or you see an injury that you don't think it's as bad as it is, or worse for that matter?
Well, I tell you what, the whole Seattle situation now has me really worried. I mean, again, we're talking about a Thursday night game this week. You mentioned Damien Williams being the guy that a lot of people are going to go after this week as the plug, and they absolutely should. If you can get a starting running back for 4 to 5 weeks, that's something you cannot pass up in fantasy football, again, especially with the way that the season has gone already. That being said, Alex Collins, the backup running back for the Seahawks, if he gets the shot to go up against the Rams D, it's a tougher game, but he's shown that he can put it together. And really, there's nothing else in that Seahawks backfield that's keeping him from piling up the lion's share of carries. Last week, 10 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers. That's respectable numbers against the 49ers. Actually. And
good point,
I mean, you got to keep him in the back of your mind as a guy that you need to go after here, especially, again, if you're struggling to get some production out of that running back room. We're sitting here talking about injuries, but on the flip side of that, you're also dealing with a lot of running backs, a couple that I'm sure we'll get to here a little bit later on. But Miles Sanders, what has he done?
That's fucking pissing me off
this year. I mean, he's just been a complete
week one.
gun.
He was a solid, and he hasn't done squat since. I had a name for you. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but the backup in Cincinnati, Chris Evans. What do you think about him? Is he a guy, and you may have him, later on down the road as a waiver wire pickup, but, I know he's not rostered in a lot of leagues, but do you see him being somebody with the ankle injury to Mixon as a dude that's going to get more? I know we get, I think, like 17% of the snaps last week. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but what are your thoughts on Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I mean, Samaje Perine has never really done anything for me in his career. He's just a guy. There's not much there. Chris Evans, meanwhile, just the pedigree that he brought at Michigan and what he was able to do, and now he's kind of found himself in this position. There was rumblings that he was going to be the new Giovanni Bernard in that Bengals offense, and you saw how the Bengals have started to use Mixon as more of a run-only type back, not necessarily utilizing his pass-catching ability. Chris Evans, I really like as a dynasty stash. I think he is a very solid guy that you want to pick up on dynasty teams. But down the road, like you said, if he starts to accumulate some more ability, some more opportunity to run the ball, I think it's going to go in a positive direction for him because he has that talent. I think he is a better option in the passing game out of the backfield than Perine is, and it may only be a matter of time until we fully see that, because again, we're sitting here talking about a 6th round rookie or maybe even a 7th round rookie to get his feet wet, get him up to speed. It's kind of like Khalil Herbert in Chicago now. He's going to be tossed to the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another guy. I mean, looking at all these younger running backs, I wouldn't necessarily, unless you got extremely deep redraft rosters, which is a rarity nowadays. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if there's something that has me saying go, but in 5-6 weeks, I could definitely see it. So it's definitely a guy that you want to flag as, keep an eye on this guy, see what he can do.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I was curious. He's floating around. I got one of my leagues. I've kind of put some money on him, trying to pull him into the fold. I like what I'm seeing. I have Mixon, so I'm big on the old handcuff. So it's worth a shot, you know. And I traded for Mixon in this one league, now I'm fucking kicking sand, you know. It's like, great, sweet, thanks. Yeah. So you win some, you lose some, you know. You can't win if you don't play. It's fantasy football. You got to make trades, you know, if you can. You know, and I know we'll talk about some trades today, but I mean, Jesus, the injuries. I mean, not just the running backs, though. They're all over. I mean, Garoppolo went down, right? So he's out for a couple of weeks. Shit. Who else got hurt? You know, now that I think about it, there was a bunch of injuries.
Teddy Bridgewater dealing with the concussion, and comes
Logan Thomas. Yep, Logan Thomas got hurt. You know,
yeah, did absolutely. I mean, he didn't even get off the ground really.
Will Fuller got hurt, busted a digit, but what else is new? That guy's, you know, I mean, just tape it to the next one and go. I mean, he's no JD Martinez spraining his ankle, walking out to play defense and stepping on second base like an asshole. But hey, you know, it's only been there for your whole entire fucking career. But I guess you could just walk out there and forget it's there. I don't know. Sorry. I'm a little sour about him not playing tonight, but he's hitting 186 against the Yankees, so he can. Actually,
it's okay. It's fine. Yeah, just let him sit back.
Let's just get through this game and get to the next one.
Absolutely.
I digress. This is a fantasy football show. I told you I'm all over the map tonight.
Again, there's Red Sox Yankees. It is you got to get the tradition moving. You got to get the fandom up and running. So it's all good. It's all good. I'd be the same way if the Cubs were playing right now, to be gratefully honest with you. But hey, here we are. Yeah. Moving on, we've got talking about some of the guys on the waiver wire. There's been a few players, and shockingly enough, some players that are still out there a fair amount in terms of their availability on the waiver wire, and they just so happen to be top 5 players at their positions at this point in time. Going right down the list, we'll start talking about quarterbacks first off. If you want to take a look at the landscape with how things have gone thus far after 4 weeks, QB1, Patrick Mahomes. QB2, Kyler Murray. Yep. QB3, Jalen Hurts.
Wow.
Despite the Eagles looking like a whole bag of crap.
Well, wait till you go to the next few, too. It's pretty surprising, you know.
Tom Brady, QB4, and Sam Darnold.
Go one step further. You got Danny Jones right behind him, which is wild.
I mean, you get Hurts, you get Darnold, you get Jones. I mean, the names after that, then you get into your Allen, Stafford, Jackson, Wilson.
But you can get Jones, you can get Darnold in most of your leagues. They're rostered in just about 30%, which is mind-blowing to think at this point. Top 5 QB, week 5. It's sitting right there. If you drafted like shit and you try to stream a QB, you know, and the guy you wanted initially wasn't there, you got some play, you know, so make a move. Let's go.
Yeah. And between these 3 guys, let's focus in here on Hurts and Darnold and Jones, because obviously the other 3 aren't going to go anywhere.
No.
Of these 3, who's your guy that's going to stick, that's not going to fade off here?
You know, Stephen, I like Darnold. You know, and I don't know if I'm taking your guy, but you sold him. You sold me on him initially. He's leading. I think he's leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns. You know, he's got 5 rushing TDs,
which is so bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, hey, no McCaffrey. Somebody's, you know, you can hand it off to Chuba, please. And, you know, he's on my squad. What the fuck, you know? But still, I the strength of schedule. I don't. It's not in front of me, Stephen. Do you think that compared to the other 2, I just think he's got the best chance at succeeding for the season compared to, you know, Daniel Jones playing with the Giants. I just think the Panthers themselves are just built for the long haul, if you will. They're playing good football. I don't know. You sold me on Darnold, and I've kind of gone with him all. I've picked up, like, you've literally, I'm like, I got to listen to you, you know, the Rain Man of stats sold me. It's like, I
agree with you that Darnold, I think, is the guy that sticks. I mean, just what he's been able to do. And again, it's the getting away from Adam Gase. That's all he needed to do, was get away from Adam Gase. We're talking about a top quarterback prospect. He can get the job done, and he's doing so.
Yeah.
In Carolina. I will give Danny Dimes credit here, though, because his first interception of the year was on a Hail Mary to end the first half against the Saints. this last weekend. Think about that. It took Daniel Jones 4 weeks to throw an interception.
If you asked the Giants fan that at the end of last year, there's no way they would have. Like, you're out of your fucking mind. Yeah,
absolutely not. Yeah. And again, he's been playing out of his mind. The thing about Jalen Hurts, yes, he has that rushing ability, but they have been playing in such negative game scripts, trying to catch up with their opponents. I mean, hell, this last one against the Chiefs and letting Tyreek Hill basically do whatever the hell he wanted to on the football field. All they had to do was pass, and that's what they've had to do these last 2 weeks. And it's been 300-yard, 2-touchdown games for Jalen Hurts these last 2 weeks.
Once we get into top 5,
exactly, and I just can't see that. Yeah, they're going to find themselves in some negative game scripts, but it's not going to be a top 3. It's not going to be a top 5. I wouldn't be shocked if he was top 12 by the end of the year, obviously, again, with that rushing ability. Yeah. But that's even if he gets pulled, because I know that Philadelphia is just over Jalen Hurts right now as a quarterback, especially a starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. So,
just to piggyback that, Stephen, I think, speaking of the rushing ability with Hurts, I think since like 2018, the top six quarterbacks, I think, have almost all rushed for over 300 yards. And so with that being said, Danny Dimes, I think he almost ran for a third of that in that one play this year. If that was, he can do it with the arm. He can do it with the legs. He doesn't run he doesn't have the rushing touchdowns like Sam Darnold, but at the same point, he could do something with that negative script, like you were talking about with Hurts, just because the Giants, they got their first W last week. They're going to be playing from behind. They're going to have to throw the ball. I don't know. Do you think Hurts out of those 3 for you? Is that your choice, or are you going?
I think Hurts is the guy that falters the most.
Okay.
I think that Jones is starting to turn that corner. I do believe that his offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, is holding him back a little bit from what he should be able to do, which is shocking to say, but we all know Jason Garrett sucks. So I think it's.
So would you go Daniel Jones 1, or to rank those 3? Daniel Jones 1, Hurts.
I'd say, well, in terms of overall sticking,
out of those 3, which
Darnold, Jones, Hurts. Okay. Darnold, Jones, Hurts, I think is the order in terms.
And you can still get those top 2 pretty much in most leagues. Just throwing it out there,
which is insane to me. But hey. Yeah. Hey, that's all part of the game. You got to go out. You got to make the most of it, especially with, again, you look at the 12-team leagues out there. Mm-hmm. Those guys should be rostered. They should be starting, but they're not in a lot of them. It's amazing how many they aren't. Running back wise, it's a little bit more chalk. It's a little bit more chalk at running back. You have Henry, you have Eckler, Elliott, Aaron Jones, Cordarrelle Patterson. Patterson.
Did you have Najee Harris 6 on your list by any chance? If you had it there, I didn't know if you did. He was in my 1 through 6. So I had Henry, Eckler, based on the fantasy, Patterson number 3, Hot Harris, Jones, and Elliott. Those are just the 6 I had, but
everything after 5, I probably
some of the ones I thought were surprising. I just threw an extra guy to just show, he's ranked higher than Elliott. I mean, Patterson, just Jesus, Nagy, thanks for fucking that one up. I mean, you can't do shit, huh? And he's rostered. He's not owned in all. He's not rostered in all leagues. He's still he's like 75%.
Yeah, looking at the breakdown here for how he is in every. Of course, he lost 76% in Yahoo, 74% in ESPN. Both should be over 90 by waiver wire time tomorrow. Yeah. But again, it makes you wonder, what else does the guy got to do? I mean, it's Cordarrelle Patterson. And
I sat him and lost. I mean, I picked him up and didn't use him.
I mean, lost really,
14 and.
How many times do you think he's actually going to do what he's been doing? But he's been so damn consistent. You just look at his stats so far, and week 2, 5 catches for 58.
Yeah.
Week 3, 6 catches for 82. Last week, obviously the blow-up game, 5 catches for 82 and 3 touchdowns. But I mean, he's consistently getting those 6 to 7 carries a game outside of the receiving game. But the thing about this Atlanta team is they're going to have to pass the ball because their defense is horrific.
Stinks.
Yeah. And you look at the back half of the schedule. Yeah, they have the Jets coming up this week. That, I believe, is the London game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's in 2 weeks, no?
They have a bye in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I think this so this would make sense to be in the London game. So, yeah. It's, out in,
the Jaguars are in London the following week, right?
Correct.
Is Urban Meyer going to fly on that plane, or is he going to be finger blasting his way out of there? You know?
But you look at the back half of the schedule for the Falcons. You have Carolina, you have the Saints, you have the Cowboys. There's some solid offensive teams in the back half of the schedule where it's going to play into Patterson's hands. I just don't see a situation in which he falters and tapers off with this production, because really there's nothing else there for the Falcons to lean on. And crazily enough, it hasn't been Kyle Pitts. It hasn't been Calvin Ridley. It's been Cordarrelle Patterson as the most consistent offensive weapon that the Atlanta Falcons have.
He's everything they thought Pitts was going to be, you know?
Right. Which blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to keep it up too, or do you think he's that?
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know Atlanta is looking to do anything. You know, their run game is suspect. I mean, speaking of all the fantasy points that Patterson's got, he's only had 119 rushing yards. I think nothing crazy. You know, everything's just out of the backfield. But with that being said, I mean, he's on pace to do some like amazing things. I'd like to think that in terms of sports and statistics, they kind of balance themselves out. You know, it could be the anomaly, and they might have figured out a cheat code with him, and they're just taking advantage. I mean, he's doing it every week, and they know it's going to happen. The other team, you know, and they're not stopping him, and he is playing hard. He's, goddamn,
No, but I mean, really, that speed out in the open. I mean, that's really what makes him such a difference maker. I mean, we
saw it as a return man. You know,
it's one of those things where you
I'm happy for him too, though. It's nice to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see him be utilized properly.
Yeah.
well, I think we can
Thanks,
leave
Matt Nagy. You fucking hump.
Oh, could use him right now. Shockingly enough, but hey, here we are, and it's we'll trade more draft picks for kick returners. And
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You know.
Let's move on to wide receiver. Wide receiver wise, there's a couple surprising names among the top. Cooper Kupp, who has just been having a hell of a year. Just with everything that he's done. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill really kind of turning things around this week, like we discussed a little bit earlier against the Eagles. Deebo Samuel coming in at wide receiver 3. DJ Moore with the Carolina Panthers at wide receiver 4, and rounding out the top 5, Mike Williams putting up that contract year with the LA Chargers.
Getting that, look at that bread.
It felt like the writing was on the wall for that. It really did. The writing was on the wall, and he was finally going to put it together. But Deebo really was one of those guys that people were either on or they were like, he's not the guy. Brandon Ayuk is the guy. Yeah. Where were you at the beginning of the year? Because I was on the Brandon Ayuk train, and I thought he was going to just rumble this year. And boy, am I eating crow on it.
I'm in a similar camp. I thought they were going to be comparable. I thought it was going to be a great 1-2 punch. I thought Jimmy G was going to be the starter. I thought he was going to have, until he got hurt. I just thought it was, but I thought Ayuk was going to ultimately be the better receiver when all said and done. I like Samuel. I mean, he's 42 targets this year. I mean, he's caught 28 balls out of everybody in the top 5. He's almost the highest targeted guy, but hasn't caught the most balls. So it's, his catch rate percentage isn't the highest, but he has Jimmy G throwing the ball. Maybe he's not as accurate. Who knows? But I was surprised by the fast start that he's gotten off to, and it also is it's speaking of like kicking in the shins, a kick of the shins in the shins for the Brandon Ayuk owners, because it's like, what the fuck? It's just, we talked about it with the whole Trey Sermon, Brandon Ayuk thing when they thought maybe there was some disciplinary action in the beginning of the season. They even talked about it a little bit. He needs to grow up a little bit. But with all that being said, it's like, is he in the doghouse or is he just not making the jump that everybody thought he was? I'm not surprised by Samuel, but I'm more, obviously more surprised by just the no-show with Ayuk this year.
Yeah, and especially for a guy that was going ahead of Debo in a lot of drafts as well, just with the way that he ended the season. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. It reminds me a lot of Dante Pettis. It's obviously not the same, but Dante Pettis was put on this pedestal as this next guy, and then he just disappears and you never hear from him again.
Yeah, who's that, right?
And and then he makes like one appearance in Buffalo and that's it. It's one of those weird things, and I really don't like Kyle Shanahan. I just don't. I think he gets a lot more credit than he deserves, and I honestly wish that there was a little bit more usability out of a guy who really carried the receiving game for the Niners down the stretch last year with all the injuries that they were dealing with. Yet here we are, and Ayuk's lucky if he can get 2-3 targets a game. But again, Debo, the way that he's producing right now, you look at his stats overall, he's got 490 receiving yards through 4 games. And then he adds in another he's only rushed for 9 yards, which is weird because his average depth of target is so minuscule. He does so much with the ball after the catch where it's like, I don't know what to do with this. It's so weird. But he's evolved after a very injury-riddled 2020, but
injury-riddled, yeah.
I think for what he is, as long as he can stay healthy, I think it's sustainable because we're seeing this monster of a man really just put it all together finally in this year 3 leap. We hear about these year 3 leaps, year 2 leaps. Debo might be that guy where he finally jumps into that upper echelon after what looked like a very promising rookie season and obviously the sophomore slump. But here we are, year 3.
Finally healthy. He has been almost 3 seasons with Jimmy G. Granted, neither of them have. I don't have how many in front of the stats in front of you, but how many games they have played together while they've both been on the roster. They've both been injured. Throughout 2020 and then the year before. But with that being said, you're right. That maturation process obviously has been something pretty significant for him. Year 3 is. Do you think he is going to finish top 5 with Trey Lance coming into play? Does he take a dip over the next couple of weeks? I know they have the game and the bye, and so what are your thoughts with Lance coming into the fold?
Man, that's a good question. I worry. I think you can't not worry about what Trey Lance can do here. I mean, he did okay, I guess is the best way to put it, against Seattle. But Seattle, we also know, doesn't have the greatest.
We talked about that last week, right?
I mean, he completed 50% of his passes, so I mean, not a great completion percentage, but still threw for 157 yards. So I mean, I think that the arm is there to get Trey Lance moving, and I don't think they're going to be able to fully focus in on letting the run game dictate things for that offense because Trey Sermon, as we know, is not necessarily been that guy yet, at least in Kyle Shanahan's eyes. God knows what's happening with Elijah Mitchell, if he was just a two-week wonder, or is he back? Is he not? Who knows? There's too many worries there for me to say, avoid Debo altogether because the offense has to do something.
Yeah.
Something.
Did Lance hit Debo on that 75-yard touchdown pass? Wasn't that Lance that hit him in week 1? I'm just curious.
Yes.
I believe it was him, right?
Yes. No. Was it?
He
had one pass for 5 yards and a touchdown in week 1.
Okay, then I'm wrong. Anyway, I have to agree with you. I do think, you have to be cautious. The only guy I like right now in San Francisco is Trey Sermon. But
also, wait, you meant this last game against the Seahawks?
Yeah.
The 76-yarder? Yes. No, it was Trey Lance.
Okay.
Trey
no.
Lance,
All right. Yeah. I think I said week 1, though. I did say week 1. I meant last
week 1.
Yeah. I blame the weed. I just,
No, Trey Lance did have 2 touchdowns to Debo. Both of Debo's touchdowns were from Trey Lance.
Okay. All right.
So I guess maybe
it makes me feel a little better about the situation.
A little exhale. Exhale.
There you go. Breathe in, breathe out.
Tight end wise, there is 2 guys. You have Kelsey, you have Waller, you have Gronk. Kittle is tight end 11 right now. Are you worried about George Kittle?
No,
I'm
not. I don't have much to pontificate on about this. I just think that Kittle is a guy that I actually think he's the player, now that I said I really like Sermon, but Kittle's a guy that obviously is going to benefit from a young quarterback coming into play, that security blanket, it's going to help Sermon and whoever's in the backfield catching some balls out of the backfield. But also, I think Kittle's going to be a guy who should get the targets are there. He's going to be fine. I like Kittle. I think he's a guy that'll finish top 5 when all said and done this year for tight ends.
Well, 2 guys that are currently in that discussion.
Yeah, this is wild.
Top 5. Dalton Schultz with the Dallas Cowboys. Another big week from him. His 2nd consecutive big week down in Big D. TJ Hawkinson is tight end number 5, but tight end 6. Dawson Knox with the Buffalo
boy
Bills, quickly becoming a favorite target of one Joshua Allen up in Buffalo. And I tell you what, the touchdown dependency that Dawson Knox has brought to the game, but really just the lock-on nature that Allen has and looking for him in the red zone. I hate tight end. I hate touchdown dependable guys, but something tells me that Knox can potentially keep it up, a la what we saw last year with Robert Tonyan in Green Bay.
Yeah, and Buffalo puts up points in bunches, and I think to that point, Stephen, he's a guy, that TD dependent type of tight end that you probably could be a little bit more comfortable with throwing out there every week, unless they got a horrible matchup. But with that being said, he is just surprise, but he's definitely producing. So if you're able to get him, and he's rostered in, do you have that in front of you? I have, all I have is Dalton Schultz, but he's rostered in 28% of leagues, and he's top 5,
Yeah,
what's
Dawson
the other?
Knox is 47% in Yahoo,
think about that. Yeah,
but only 20% on ESPN.
Yeah,
so rather large. Yeah, rather large difference
for a tight end, top 6. That is just, and that's hopefully why you listen, because you hear shit like this, and it's damn. And so, what are you comfortable with throwing out for Fab? What would you put out?
Man, I like Knox more than I do Schultz.
Okay.
There's just something about the Cowboys passing attack where there's a
lot of players
out. There's a lot of players. I like to compare them to what the Seahawks have with their receivers, where they never are consistent in putting up the consecutive weeks of big games between DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. It's the same thing with Lamb and Cooper and their tight ends, whether it is Jarwin or whether it is Schultz. So it's just kind of all over the board with what they can do. However, here we are with 2 straight weeks of consistency play here. And that's with Blake Jarwin healthy.
Yeah.
And playing a decent amount of snaps. And so now it's a question of, okay, is this the new norm for this Cowboys offense? I just can't trust it yet.
Yeah.
I can trust Dawson Knox being the guy for Josh Allen. I can't trust the Cowboys to do what's right for the tight end position in fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head with that one. I have to agree. I just think that, the trust level, too many weapons in Dallas, and he's not even really their starting. He is a starter, but at the same point, he's not. Yeah, I'm going to Buffalo all the way. I like that connection with Josh Allen. I just think that they can put up. Week one was just, I think, like they had to go experience that. They got that out of their system, and they have just putting it on people every week since then, and it's like Josh Allen's figuring it out. Mitchell Trubisky's looking like somebody that, we knew he could probably be a little bit, but, with that being said, I have to agree with you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if either of these guys finish top 10 at the position. You look at 6 to 10. You have Goddard, Fant, CJ Uzoma, I believe is the correct.
That's just based on that huge week he had last week too, though.
That's exactly. Yeah. So you look at one big week, and you are 10. Tight end 9, and Mark Andrews rounding out the top 10.
Surprisingly,
and, so we're talking no Pitts. No Kittle,
who would have thought?
It's again a such a volatile position where it's literally, if you don't get Travis Kelce, Godspeed. And I guess you can throw Darren Waller in there too, because he's being.
I thought TJ Hawkinson was going to make that, and I drafted him in almost.
He's tight end 5. He's tight end 5.
But he started great, and he's just kind of
there. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, it's been tough. You just played the Bears. He was definitely a focal point of the offense, but he just, he didn't produce. It's been like 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks in a row for him. But
in due time, because I'm on that Hawk train too.
Yeah, I know. We talked about it. Yeah. But, where are we going, Stephen? What's next?
All right. How about? That's that does it for the opening topics. We're through 40 minutes, and I think we should switch over to some glitches and some cheat codes.
Okay.
And get through some starts and sits for week number 5.
What do you got?
All right, we're gonna roll right. You know what? Let's go reverse. I'm bored. Let's.
Okay.
No, I'm not really bored. But let's
switch it up.
Instead of going QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, we're gonna go tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback.
Oh boy,
we're flipping it on its head. We're going snake since we just finished with tight ends. We're sticking with tight ends, and these starts and the sits for week number 5. I'll start because we're gonna just transition over from what we just talked about. Start Dawson Knox because it's going to continue.
Son of a, that's where I was going to go. Yeah, I like that.
Kansas City allowing the 4th most points per game to tight ends this year. Like we mentioned, Knox becoming an Allen favorite, should be able to keep it up. Sit-wise, Robert Tonyan, don't like him. It's time for the funeral procession to be done with the Green Bay Packer tight end. He only has 8 catches for 74 yards in 4 games. He is definitely looking like that one-year wonder after just a wild catch rate that he had in 2020, but the Bengals allowing just 50 yards per game to tight ends and the 4th fewest fantasy points to tight ends in 2021 thus far. I know I took Knox from you.
It's okay.
You got another sit? You have another start?
You know what? It's kind of a simple one. I'm just going to throw this off the top. Oh, start. Geez. I think, at the end of the day, we were just talking about Mark Andrews at number 10. I think these are all simple though. You threw me for a loss. You kind of threw me for a loop, but
all good. I apologize.
No. But with that being said, there's a couple guys I'm just afraid of, just to start this week. I kind of look at them as busts in general going in, and I just kind of want to give them to you, and let me know what your thoughts are. We're talking about teams that stink, right? And we have today, and they got to throw, they got to be down. Atlanta Falcons, I don't understand. I think Matt Ryan is just a guy to stay away from. a lot of like Jameis Winston back when he was on the Bucks and they had to throw all the time and it equated to tons of yards. Yeah, there were interceptions, but he threw 35, he threw a bunch of TDs too. Matt Ryan, he's a sit all day, every day. If you do have him on your roster for some odd reason, sit his ass. They're playing against the Jets, who coming off a win. I don't like them. Regardless, Antonio Gibson against the Saints. I'm nervous about what's going on in Washington. There's a lot of off the field drama going on over there. I think there's, it's tough to focus on football when you have, whether you're in Jacksonville with your coach kind of, trying to get his arm inside some co-ed over in Ohio, or getting raided. They raided Washington football team's headquarters, with the whole trainer,
what the hell was up with
dude? Who knows? But now these guys got to answer questions about. I watched an interview with Taylor Heineke, and he had to answer. He's like, I don't fucking know, but it's like these guys got to now focus. I'm staying away from him. Plus New Orleans, they're coming off a bad game. I look for them to rebound too, and and lastly, New England's playing Houston, and a guy that I think that is somebody to look out for would be N'Keal Harry. I don't know why. I just have for some odd reason against Houston.
Punt.
Yeah, but on the other side of it, I'd sit Brandon Cooks this week. I just don't know if he's gonna do anything. I'm not gonna throw stats or anything at your way. It's just more of I don't see him producing against New England. I think there's just way too much trouble in Little China, if you will, with what's going on with the Texans, and it's not going to help out Mr. Cooks at all. I'd stay away from him. Those are the three guys that I just kind of really don't want. If you have them, let them sit on the bench, and I know you got a bunch of dudes for your starting sits, but those are some guys I just wanted to stay away from.
I will agree with you on Brandon Cooks there. For whatever reason, Bill Belichick is really good at taking away his opposing team's wide receiver one.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if Chris Godwin even played last week.
You didn't hear his name?
There was nothing there. Corey Davis against the Jets a couple weeks ago, nothing there. So it's this continuous pattern. And really, if you take away Brandon Cooks, you take away the passing game for what the Houston Texans can do, even after a horrific showing last week against the Buffalo Bills. But can't fault you there. My sits for the remainder of the positions here: wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. against the Chargers. We've known that the Chargers have that clamp down style of play. They don't allow those big gains through the air, and it was put on display last night against the Vegas Raiders. They really weren't able to get those deep balls going. They never really got back into the game, and that's because that defense knows how to clamp down, get to the quarterback, and not allow those long routes to go after. And that's what Odell Beckham thrives at, or did thrive at, we should say.
Good point.
Running back wise, Myles Gaskin, I think the funeral procession begins for his fantasy value officially on Sunday. Bucks
sell.
Oh, immediately sell. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers only giving up 42 yards per game on the ground this year. That's it. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Myles Gaskin hasn't been able to get it going at all this year. So please get him off of your rosters as soon as humanly possible. Quarterback wise, Jalen Hurts, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He's not doing it for me this week against the Panthers. Panthers just allowing 181 yards through the air to opposing signal callers. We know it's been garbage time the last couple of weeks. They could find themselves in that script the way that this Carolina offense has been rolling. But the defense, I think, with the Panthers is going to prove a little too hefty for one Jalen Hurts to put up his third consecutive big week at quarterback. Starts. What you got?
I like Zack Wilson against the Falcons. Speaking of, playing against bad teams, I think Wilson showed some stuff last week playing. I felt that that maturation process, as we talked about in year 3 for Debo, I think Wilson is, the speed of the game is, granted they were playing, nonetheless, look, I think Zack Wilson is somebody that is going to play the Falcons this Sunday. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to get you some fantasy points. And if you need a QB because either somebody's hurt, someone gets COVID, or you've been streaming QBs and you stink, and you need someone, Zack Wilson's a guy that I think you can put out there against the Falcons defense that just isn't stopping, and they're not stopping anything.
And really, I mean, he did pretty decent against the Titans.
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah. I don't know what is going on with Tennessee, but they didn't have Julio and they didn't have AJ, but I don't know why he didn't hand it off 75 times to Derrick Henry, but
they did there for a minute, and then they're just like, all right, well, okay.
Yeah. I talked about Harry, Nikhil. I think Chris Evans is a guy that, we talked about him earlier. He's a guy in Cincy, keeping an eye on Joe Mixon. But if you can pick him up tonight going into the morning, I think he's a guy, that they're playing Green Bay. If Mixon's out or he's limited, you got a shot, and running backs, as we talked about earlier, a lot of them are sitting in IR positions. So there aren't many out there that you can pick up. So keep an eye out for Chris Evans. And it just lastly, I'm going to throw a defense your way. I think, speaking of the wonderful Detroit Lions, they're playing the Vikings and the Lions suck. So I think you could go ahead and stream the Vikings this week and be okay there. And so those are my sits that I talked to, I just wanted to give you. So what do you got? Anything else there?
All right. My starts along the rest of the way here. I know we mentioned Dawson Knox earlier. I'll start at the top of the list. You were talking there about the Bengals. I'm kind of on the flip side of how I think this offense is going to roll on Sunday. Joe Burrow is my start. For the
I can see that.
For quarterback. I think it's just going to be throw the ball all day. I don't think there's going to be much in the running game, which honestly could help Evans. I mean, really, he's that pass catching guy. So,
exactly.
I mean, this might be the best of both worlds for all we know, but they're going to have to play catch up with Rodgers at some point. We know that that's not going to slow down. The Packers have started packering and gross. Yeah. But Jair Alexander out for the Packers as well, which is big in that secondary. We'll see if Burrow can get a handle on things. And the Packers also tied for the second most passing touchdowns allowed with 10 in the first 4 weeks.
T. Higgins coming back this week too.
That's true. Getting full strength, getting ready to roll.
Good call, running back. I like that start.
Running back wise, Darrell Henderson with the Rams on Thursday night against the Seahawks. Just like through the air, Seattle has been able to do nothing against the ground game. They have allowed the most rushing yards with 514. They've allowed the most receiving yards to running backs as well. I mean, this is just asking for Henderson to get back on track after that little injury bump in the road. So really like him on Thursday night. And then at wide receiver, I really never liked him in the draft situation, but here I am singing his praises. Laviska Shenault with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Performed last week too.
That's right. Against the Tennessee Titans. As we all know, DJ Chark is donezo, and hey, Shenault stepped up. He had 6 catches, 99 yards. Lawrence should lean on him a little bit more, but Tennessee allowing the most yards to wide receivers, second most points per game at 51 points per game to wide receivers. It's a smash spot for Laviska Shenault as far as I'm concerned.
Marvin Jones there too, just to add. I'm a big Marvin Jones guy. If my buddy Jay's watching, he has been. I'm not trading him to you, so sorry.
And that's that.
You know what? He's probably laughing because I'm in last place in that league and he's in first. So he's probably like, yeah, you're lost because he's, whatever. I hate being like one of the top scoring teams and being in last place. It's just a kick in the dick every time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's funny. I was talking with a buddy and he's like, I'm 0-4. What do I do? My team sucks. And I look and his points for was like 200 more than the next, or the points against was like 200 more than the next guy. I'm like, you just have really shitty luck. Like that's all this is. He just wait it out. And like every single one of his starters was like top 10 at their position and he's 0-4. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're just, I don't want your luck. stay or whatever shade of bad luck you have, like just stay the hell away from me. Because I want nothing to do
tough,
with it.
and we're gonna do some trade stuff in a little bit. And the team that we're gonna work with is, I think, second in points, but I'm in second to last place. So it's like, but I want to just make a trade. I want to try to make a trade just because I'm fucking annoyed, and I should ride it out. But I have so many guys, and I sent you this roster, and there's some like stacks of players that I need to separate.
Yes.
And so it's a matter of just kind of doing a little fine tweaking and trying to, seeing what you can do to improve on your roster. But when it comes to trades, I don't know if we're going to jump into it, but it's got to hurt. It's got to hurt a little bit, And what I mean by that is when you're trading for somebody, bear with me here. There we go. When you're trading with somebody, you got to give something to get something. And I don't know about you, Stephen, but when you're making trades, this is not my team. I'll go back to my team. This is the team I want to trade to.
Let's say, who the hell is Kevin?
Yeah, that's the guy that I want to trade with. He's actually in last place in this league, and I've been trying to get a couple
you're not
of
far
guys.
Behind.
So here's my squad.
That's a solid roster. How the hell are you 1-3?
You see this team?
My God, Murray, Hopkins, Jefferson, Swift, Cook, Hawkinson, Julio Jones, Corey Davis. My God. How are you 1-3? You got some injury bugs, but still. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's bad. And I just, just to show you real quick, if I could get to the league and show you the standings. But like, pop up, fuck you. But I mean, if you look here.
Oh, yeah, you're second in points.
Second in points. But I lost 2 brutal matchups, and I just
I'll say your points against isn't even that bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
I took a beating in 1 week, that I did not show up, where everybody just did not perform. Obviously they went out partying the night before, but we had a big team meeting on Tuesday.
Varsity Blues way.
I wasn't canceling meetings like Urban Meyer. I'll say that. I fucking faced my squad head up while I was, doing my dirt.
Didn't wait till those positional meetings.
What a shit show in Jacksonville. Oh my God.
Amen. All right. So we're going to help you make some trades here, because I'm sure you're panicking at 1-3.
Yes, I am. So I just want to show you. So you saw my roster, and this is, I'm going to bring this up. So bear with me here. So this is this gentleman, Kevin. If there's a guy, I want to get rid of 2 players. I want to trade Justin Jefferson. Hear me out.
Okay.
And I want to trade DeAndre Swift.
Why?
I want to package those guys, right? But I also want to add Julio Jones.
What?
Hear me out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I don't know if Julio Jones has any value right now. Like, I don't know what to do with him. He's just there.
He is. So here's my thought. Okay. So Kamara is a guy that right now he is not performing well. He's had 1 big week. Outside of that, he's kind of been up and down.
Well, here's the thing about Kamara is they're not using him in the passing game, which is the most bizarre thing, because that's what he was so good at with Drew Brees. And now it's like, no, you just need to run the ball. And it's like, that's not what I do. It's not what you pay me to do.
No.
Okay.
Continue. So I'm looking at, I don't think he's won a game. I think he's 0-4, right? So I look at it as like, all right, he needs some players. The waiver wire is pretty shitty. It's a 12-team league, so there isn't many. 1 roster spot, 5 people on the bench. So, I mean, there's some guys, but it's pretty slim pickings. It's mostly quarterbacks out there. Would you look to make a big trade? Like, I want to try to make a splash, or do you try to target one guy and make a trade, say, like for Alvin Kamara with Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Swift?
Man,
This is why this is the point of doing this. And if you're watching or listening, is to talk this out and like see if this is something that's worth doing.
It's so looking at his roster, because really looking at the running back situation, he has Chuba, which is we all know borrowed time.
Yep.
Mixon, Harris, and Fournette. I mean that's weak sauce. That is weak.
He needs running backs.
He needs running backs, but you're also taking away his top running backs. It's kind of that double-edged sword there with that. Honestly, I like going after Scary Terry.
Me too.
Here,
You're reading my mind. Okay, good. Thank you for saying that.
I think going after McLaurin and honestly, this is the thing, and I know. Okay, you're going right to him already. Yeah, you're reading my mind too. You set this up with a guy who is not performing to the extent that we anticipated him to, as we know, dealing with the injury this week. Will he play? Will he not play? If you can get a little bit of that scaring out of him. But on the flip side of this, looking at your roster here, you're very wide receiver heavy. Very wide receiver heavy. Because the issue is you trade away Swift. I mean, you don't have a second running back.
No,
you really don't.
It was Cook being hurt. It's tough, and that's why I was trying to go big or go home, and so it was like
I would do this. You might think I'm crazy.
Talk to me.
I'd say McLaurin and Mixon. No, that wouldn't work. I was going to say Hopkins and Jefferson, but then you're stuck at who do you play at wide receiver 2? Yeah. And you could play Davis, but
I think that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Scary Terry and Jefferson are wide receiver 25 and 26. So they're statistically they're like right next to each other.
Right.
It's tough, and so I know he's hurting. I looked at it as like he get a chance to reset his roster, and I was gonna just watch this real quick. Watch.
Okay.
I'm just gonna show you where my head was. Right. So, out of these two, who would you prefer?
See, I prefer. I probably prefer Hopkins slightly.
Okay.
They're neck and neck. I don't know really what to feel about Jefferson. I think he's going to be streaky, kind of the way that DK Metcalf is.
But he has Kirk Cousins, so I like that stack. That's why because I like to keep the Murray Hopkins stack for the points. So I was thinking Jefferson.
Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking Swift, obviously. But then I was going to go. So those aren't comparable, right? It's not fair. But
the thing that worries me about including Swift, he didn't have a great game against the Bears, but he was still a top 5 running back heading into week 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some serious value. All right. You're okay. So you have Corey Davis on here too. So you got Swift, Jefferson, and Davis.
Target monster. He had the bad week. People were kind of down on him, and then he comes and he bounces right back.
Two solid games.
And so I don't know if that's enough. I don't know. Then I may have to add another player
for Kamara and for McLaurin.
You think that's enough? Let's see what it looks like.
I think it is. Here, where's that goofy evaluate trade button? Yeah, hit that.
Yeah.
I honestly, I think this is going to be heavy in it. Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Heavy on my side, right?
That's surprising.
Yeah. So I think let's do this.
I mean, because here's the thing is Swift has more points than Kamara at this point in the year. Jefferson and McLaurin, like you mentioned, are neck and neck. And then you're adding in Davis.
Yeah.
He has no real solid wide receivers behind his starters with Lockett, McLaurin, because he's got Ayuk sitting there, which
he's hurt.
It's
so here's my other thought. Go here. I'm going to keep the same guys and to up it a little bit because of the differential, because that's what I saw. Because I was playing around with this earlier, but I'd be okay with doing this. And I hope he goes after
adding in Julio Jones.
I think Julio
instead of Davis or with Davis.
I was going to go with Davis.
So if I were to do that, I would ask for Pittman because he has Michael Pittman sitting there. He's been slowly getting more acclimated to what Carson Wentz can do. So you have McLaurin, Kamara, and Pittman for Jefferson, Swift, Julio, and Corey Davis. I like that trade.
Yeah.
I would do that trade. I don't know. I don't think I'm surprised it still is like wild in your favor.
Oh yeah, let me see how this goes
here. Just because you're giving him this fourth guy, but it's closer. I'd offer it. I'm big on Michael Pittman, though. I love Michael Pittman. I think it's just a matter of time before it clicks for him, and that's it. And he becomes a star, and he just needs to get into the end zone. Really, I mean that's one of the biggest things. And looking at some of the comments here, Otis chiming in. You have to stand pat. You have 11 games. He's not wrong. Stay the course.
No, it's tough. And that's what, because then you
that's
go back.
The thing that's freaking you out. I know. I feel your fear just watching this occur. Because again, your team is scoring. Like that's the thing. But flip side of this, you're upgrading running back.
Mm-hmm.
You're upgrading wide receiver, kind of.
Yeah,
I guess. And you're definitely getting. I think you're definitely getting an upgrade because I mean the other thing too is you're going to be starting one of your bench guys. You're going to have to add a bench guy as well. Man, that's tough.
It's hard, right? And that's why so when you're making trades, you need to. It's going to hurt. Obviously, you look at what I'm losing here.
Yeah,
I'm losing depth in the wide receiver position, obviously, because I was so wide receiver heavy. I look at that as a point of luxury, But with that being said, is it worth that big of an upgrade at running back to get rid of all that depth?
I mean, the other thing that I would even look at doing here. Instead of because I see Devonta Smith on the bottom of your roster there. I mean, what are your thoughts on him for the rest of this year? I know that we talked a little bit about Jalen Hurts. I mean, personally, in my opinion, I would rather have Davis and really rather have Julio than a Devonta Smith.
You rather, yeah. True.
I mean, maybe switch one of those guys out with Devonta.
These are who's available,
Van
Jefferson, KJ, no.
I mean, Mooney, if you believe in what happened last week, and that's putting faith that Matt Nagy will do the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What did you just say?
Laugh. It's okay. I know you don't see them here, but there are McDonald's ads everywhere in Chicagoland that say, come work for McDonald's. It's got this big ass picture of Matt Nagy.
Come on.
And like all I see is like, man, just wipe that Bears logo off his visor and just stick a McDonald's logo on there. And
I love it.
I pass it every single damn time. And I'm just like, it's gonna be stuck in my mind. Just that face, that punchable face. Go make some fries.
You love Nagy.
You got another one. You got another one in here. Don't make any trades. Your team is fine.
Yeah, and then now as we're talking, I see this is why we're doing this. It's some therapy for me also because I've proposed like 4 trades throughout the year to this guy, like that I've gotten ready, almost sent out, and then canceled. And I've proposed something like this like 4 times in my mind that I've just never sent through. And it's like,
Cherie, don't make that trade.
No,
don't make that trade.
Nope.
Kittle and Ayuk for Moore and Fant. No, I'd rather have Moore and Fant. Hands down.
Me too. He's right though. I'll be honest. He's kind of talking me out of it because if you look, the more I think about it,
so the thing is, it's a matter of 2 different things. Is are we going to see Fitzmagic come back at all in Washington? Is he going to be that guy that latches on to Terry? The other thing is the way that the Saints are utilizing Alvin Kamara going to change from what it is now, which is you're going to run the ball and you're going to run the ball more. Man,
I think I'm stepping out of this.
Yeah, the only thing I think you can really because I don't think Julio's gonna really get it going.
I really wanted Kamara. I wanted to get rid of Swift. I really wanted Kamara is what I wanted.
Yeah, because like the other thing too here is I'm a big proponent of doing trades that benefit me at a position, not necessarily doing tit for tat.
Yeah.
Where it's the same positions on each team that basically get swapped. And it's like, oh, they just need a fresh start. It's fucking fantasy football. You don't need a fresh start. This isn't walking into Hallis Hall and saying, oh, this place is so much better.
Oh, that's great.
Like, I mean, yeah, it'd be one thing if you weren't scoring, but you're scoring.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
I fucking hate losing,
points.
Steven. It drives me fucking nuts.
Above
anything
losing?
else, I hate to lose by Jackie Robinson. That was my quote when I was in high school. Like, I lived by that shit when I played. I just hated losing. It sucks. It ruins my fucking Monday night, Tuesday morning. I'm like, look at my phone. I'm like, motherfucker. So it's like, and then we come on here and I get even more frustrated.
That's why you just need to be in enough leagues where it just numbs you. So I don't care.
I was like, let me check
every
fucking
some,
fantasy.
I won in some others.
You know what? I think I'm going to step out of the trade market in this one. I think I might actually ride it out for week 5. If I put up shitty points, then I'm making a move. But I think Paul is hitting the nail on the head here. And like you said, usage wise, I think they're using Swift more effectively than they are Kamara. I appreciate that, Paul.
Which is so weird to me. Is so weird to me, but it's how it goes. Who should I put in the question from Anthony? Who should I put in the flex? PPR, full PPR, I'm assuming we got Moss, Kirk, Mooney, D. Harris, or Gesicki. I don't like Moss.
I don't like Gesicki. I don't like Moss. It's either Kirk or Mooney. I'll be honest, I like Mooney. I'll say this. I like Mooney with Justin Fields. I like the chemistry, the bond. You saw the video of them doing their stretching together. Did you see that? That was floating around social media.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. My wife is a yoga instructor, so like I get it. It's like, all right, I see you guys putting in the work, it helps. But with that being said, I like Mooney. I think out of all of those, I think I'm going Mooney over Kirk out of those two. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Man, because I think that Kirk bounces back. He didn't really have that great of a game last week against the Rams. Yeah, if Fields is playing, Mooney.
Yeah.
If Fields is not playing, Kirk.
Yeah, but we might not know that until Sunday at 12:50 because our coach is a fucking steaming pile of shit.
Well, well, the Bears have a late game too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Cardinals do. Yeah, they both have a late game, so you're good with that. And I just honestly, just wait it off until we see what exactly is happening and see if the bluff is going to be called and whether or not Dalton is starting. I don't even know at this point. But we'll see. Yeah, Paul, you have that up there. Don't drop Madison. Drop Curtis Samuel instead.
I'm not, especially with Cook re-injured and aggravating that ankle.
You don't want to drop Madison right now by any means.
And this
Curtis Samuel, I don't think is a drop yet, though. I don't think Curtis Samuel's a drop. I think give it a week or so just to see if he can get the chemistry rolling with Heineke. I'm not on that train to say, okay,
still
he's
kind of early. I mean, week 5. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. We'll see. Who knows? But like I said, it feels like it's not that far along, but again, week 5 is already here. We're already talking, what should we do with this guy? What should we do with that guy? We're talking about, bigger draft capital players where it's like, okay, is it time to start looking elsewhere? It's time to start hanging it up and throwing them to the curb.
Michael Thomas is going to be coming off some of these guys coming off the pup lift soon.
Yes.
If you stashed him, I did that in a couple of leagues. What about
coming full circle?
Rashad Bateman Jr. He's coming off. He was supposed to be up better last week. He had to sit out, but he's going to be playing this week. I'm hoping he can get some chemistry with Lamar Jackson. We were talking him up preseason until he got hurt. He's a guy that I'm hoping he can, kind of hit the ground running over there in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's again a much needed injection into that passing game for what they have in Baltimore. I mean, Hollywood Brown's doing all right. He's been doing all right for a while, been flying under the radar. Again, I mean, if we're going to talk trade targets, that's a guy I think he can still get at a pretty decent price given what he can, put out there for you on your fantasy rosters, especially as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, in that flex. Again, been doing pretty damn well with what he's got out there in Baltimore, and we'll see what happens with Bateman going into that mix. But hey, maybe it'll open up things even more for one Hollywood Brown down the road.
Any guys
still doing okay here?
I have it. I'm not looking right now. I actually,
they were still
up. It was 3-0. It was 3-0. My phone was, all my buddies are texting me and I don't want to look at it yet. I have 73 text messages right now, so I don't want to look.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. So,
well, I don't want to keep you much longer.
It's okay.
But you witnessing the pain of Yankees fans losing is like a top 5 life moment for you. Right?
Top 5s are great. Yes, it is a wonderful thing. We've had some beautiful, since we got our, I said before we came on, 2003 hurt so bad. It was awful when Boone hit that home run off Wakefield. But with that being said, we've been, we've won a few since then, so it's, and we've done it at the, at the backs of the Yankees. It's been kind of nice to just, walk over them as we, hoist the championship trophy, but it's that piece of metal, as Manfred called it. But, with that being said, hey, if we can win this game, it's one game at a time. One game at a time. That's right.
Last question before we get out of here quick. PPR from Anthony. Who would you put in the flex? AD, Chuba, Carter, or Mooney?
I like Michael Carter. He's a guy.
This could be the week that Carter finally gets it rolling.
He had like 16 carries. What was it? 16 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. I forget what it was. I mean, the average wasn't there, but the usage was. And I think that's they're playing Atlanta. That's something that could work in his benefit. They get up on them, and maybe they give him an opportunity to do some things.
I lean Chuba if CMC sits.
Okay.
I don't think that there's going to be much concern over Carolina having to play from behind against the Eagles. That should be a positive game script for Chuba in that one. We'll see what happens. There you go.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Well, there's the end of the game is in sight, obviously. So
it's all right. I don't even want to see our bullpen go though. They're so fucking bad. It's like they said they got Chris Sale available tonight. I'd be doing more than that, man. I'll be good to go.
You'll be fine.
Do you have any waiver wire pickups you want to talk about real quick before we get out of here? I mean, we know Damien Williams is one of them. Trey Lance is another one, rostered in about 25% of the leagues. Mr. Mooney, about 39%. Your boy, we talked about Dawson Knox, 34%. Kenneth Gainwell, RB, running back, 27%.
I would say
AJ Green hype, you buying it?
I like AJ Green. I think he's finally turning it around. I'm big on AJ
Rostered
Green.
26%.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of guys that we've talked about, but I mean, Latavius Murray is another one. I feel
like I would hope he's rostered in the league.
I've seen him on a lot of waiver wires.
Fucking nuts. I mean, how is that possible?
I agree with you.
Just let Anthony know we did talk about Chris Evans, the backup for
the Bengals.
for Mixon. He's a guy that I actually like going into, if he's out, I like Mixon starting this, or I like Chris Evans this week. Anthony, just to let you know.
Kadarius Toney, another one, led the Giants in targets against the Saints. We'll see if Sterling Shepard's back. We'll see if Darius Slayton's back after they had some hamstring injuries that
Jamison Crowder, he's out there, 17% rostered. Take a peek.
He is a target hound. He will pick up anything and everything. Zach Ertz is still picking up targets for whatever reason it is. He had 8 targets. He had 8 targets last week. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I mean, if you're looking outside of Knox, outside of Schultz, if those guys are gone, they might be an option. The ever ageless Zach Ertz.
And to that, point, it's like with Knox and Schultz, and if those guys aren't rostered in 30% of the leagues, and where in terms of waivers with Damien Williams being available and some of the other players we just identified, there's a strong possibility that you could get one of those tight ends. I mean, now's the week to make that move if you need somebody. I mean, with the way the numbers play out, I think it's now or never. If you don't do it now, it's not going to happen next week.
Yeah, and again, we're getting into bye weeks next week as well. So that's the other big thing to focus on. We'll talk about that, setting up rosters and everything else as the real fun begins with roster management and making sure that you've got everything set up and not running into some bulldozers between all of these fun injuries and everything else that's currently happening in the NFL. We got COVID, got injuries, got bye weeks. Hey,
now we're going to London. I mean, it's all sorts of crazy shit. I thought you had to quarantine for like 2 weeks if you could travel. Anyway, whatever.
It's the NFL. We don't need 2 weeks.
Yeah, unless you're Cam Newton, then you're fucked, Like,
just
fast. But anyway, that's another show.
Hey,
sorry. That's another show.
Well, maybe next week, right?
Bullet point. We'll put that in there.
There we go.
I love it.
That's going to do it for this week in One Up Fantasy. We do thank you all for tuning in and listening to the podcast form. If you aren't already subscribed to our podcast here, we are wherever you listen to major podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. We are there. Just search One Up Fantasy on your favorite podcast platform. For Chris Jackle, I'm Stephen Johnson. Again, thank you. Have a fantastic week. Go Red Sox.
That's right, baby. If it ain't the White Sox, it's the Red Sox, and you're a Cubs fan, so never mind. Fuck the White Sox.
I'll jump on the Red Sox train with you.
I like that. All right. Let's go. Come on. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, safe rest of your week. Set your lineups. Don't forget waiver wire. Get your money right. Get your claims in, however it works. I hope you get who you need, and good luck this week, Thursday night. Don't forget.
Absolutely, and we will talk to you next Tuesday night, same time, same place, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.